Hello Taurus, and welcome to my channel, Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus placements, looking at your connection between you and the person that you are dealing with and are needing to learn the most from right now. We'll be pulling for all three sides of the connection, so we'll look at your energy toward it, their energy toward it, and the energy in between it. The concept being that there are three sides to every story. So we're looking at your version of the truth, their version of the truth, and this higher level unbiased truth in the middle. This middle section we'll be looking at what is the deeper purpose of the connection and the best way for you to move forward in order to align further with your higher self. Friendly reminder that these are general readings and they are not here to resonate fully for everyone, and they won't resonate fully for everyone. So do please remember to take what does resonate and helps your personal situation and to leave what does not. On that note, and especially if you are a cross watcher, just know that this whole reading can be reversed. If that is the case for you, that is totally fine and totally normal. Again, the point is to take what helps and leave what doesn't. Last thing is that any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading or coaching session with me is in the description box below. All right, Taurus, let's jump on in. We're going to start with looking at the overall energy for this connection through oracle cards. So we're going to look at your energy, their energy, and the energy in between it with oracle cards first, and then we will dive deeper into the reading with tarot as we progress. But let's first start here, Taurus, with your energy toward the person you are dealing with and are needing to learn the most from right now. This is for Taurus's side of this connection. Whoa. Okay, right out of the gate, we have ego. But it's not... Okay, hang on, let me see. Dream come true. Okay, that's what I was gathering. This connection has a lot of highs and a lot of lows. I feel like it has this tendency to be this dream come true, you know, really beautiful thing. But I also feel that this connection has a tendency to kind of bring out the worst in you. Like it brings out the best in you, it brings out the worst in you. And I will say, I think that that's pretty normal for connections that, you know, we are deeply connected to. Every connection is going to mirror us. It's going to trigger insecurities, things of that nature. But this ego card is interesting. I feel like it's carrying more than just like the definition of ego. So I'm interested to see how that comes through in this reading, because I feel like there's this desire for more consistency, like for things to be good more frequently, but I feel like there's been, I don't know what's going on here. This person's energy toward you, I don't know yet. We'll get to the bottom of it for sure. This person's energy toward you, Taurus. Forgiveness. Boundaries. And then on the bottom, there's this robotic card. So it feels like this person... Okay, it's starting to come together already. I feel like this person has a tendency to make some mistakes in this connection. And again, super normal. We're all human. We all make mistakes. But it feels like there's something that's very repetitive, some sort of cycle or some sort of, something that they're doing that keeps showing up in this connection, where it feels like they're constantly in this position of kind of asking for forgiveness or feeling regretful about their decisions in certain ways, but it always seems to come after the fact. I feel like this person is also very defensive. So it's interesting because it's like this balanced energy between, you know, being very defensive and maybe very always like ready to kind of defend their actions, but then also knowing like being regretful for their actions. So I feel like you kind of see both sides. Like sometimes you see that this person that, you know, really wants to change or really wants to do better, but then other times you see this person that's like, oh, this is just the way I am, you know, this is how things are going to be. And I think that this really leaves you in a difficult position, because I feel like you see the potential in this person, in this connection, when they do show up sometimes as like that one version of them. But then I feel like there are other times where you're feeling like you really struggle because you know, this person acts a certain way or they do certain things and you're like, I don't know which version of you is real. Like, is it the version of you that wants to change, or is it the version of you that does these things, or that, says these things or hurts me in some way? So yeah, I don't necessarily know what's going on here, like the story below it, which this is just overall energy. But with this robotic card, I feel like there is something very repetitive. Like, when I think robotic, you kind of just think like emotionless, right? Where it's almost just like this repetition of action. Like, robots are wired a certain way. It feels like this person acts a certain way, and then there's regret, and then forgive me, I want to change, and then, like, again, same action. It's like this repetitive kind of thing. Truth of the connection between Taurus and this person. And I feel like you're sitting here, trying to be patient, and I feel like you have been really patient. But I also feel that there's kind of this part of you that is feeling a little bit like frustrated in a way, which, again, I think you have a right to be frustrated if someone, because the only real apology is change behavior, right? But let's dive into this deeper. Truth of this connection between Taurus and this person triggered. Could have seen that one coming. And patience. Yeah, I mean, I said I felt like you were being patient, but that doesn't mean that their behavior, the things that happen, aren't triggering for you. And it's this cycle. It's like being patient, being understanding, being empathetic, being compassionate, being forgiving, and then being like, oh my gosh, like, what the hell are you doing? I thought that we were good. I thought things were going to change. And then, this person apologizes. And it's around and around again. So this cycle, Spirit's trying to draw your attention to this cycle here, because I feel like this cycle is a really important part of like what you're being asked to see here. We'll see. All right, overall theme of this reading for you, Taurus. Except for all it is worth. There's a lot of unconditional love that I feel like you have for this person here. Which is so interesting, because, like, that's why I'm saying this ego card is so interesting here. Allow for time and space. I feel like I need one more. It is worth it. Okay. Okay. You have, like I said, and I'm going to repeat it because I feel like it's important. I feel like you have a lot of unconditional love and unconditional empathy for this person. I feel like you really see, who they are at their core. I feel like you have so much, again, just like care and compassion for them. And maybe there's even like this deep understanding of why they do the things that they do, why they show up a certain way, why they act a certain way, why this cycle is kind of perpetuating here. And I think that, you accept them for all that they are. But the thing that I feel is important here is just to remember that unconditional love, unconditional empathy is important, but it does not equal unconditional tolerance, right? Just because, we love and accept someone for who they are, that doesn't mean that we should be in a position where we are tolerating mistreatment or disrespect, or, essentially somebody saying that they're going to be different, that they're going to change, and then not really backing it up with behavior. I feel like there's a lot to uncover here. I do. And I think that there's a lot of complication in your energy too, because I feel like you do see, I feel like you're very perceptive. And I feel like you see like all sides of what's happening here. And it makes it really hard, because I think a lot of times when we have empathy for another person, it almost causes us not to have as much empathy for ourselves, where it's like, well, they've been through a lot, or they're dealing with a lot, or they're going through a lot, or, whatever. And it's like, okay, yes. And that's important. It's important to, to understand another person's behavior, but it's also important to make sure that we're protecting ourselves, right? I don't know. I just feel like there's something about this. This person, or your energy toward this person here. Still, I want to know what this ego card is. Your energy toward this person, Taurus. Two of Pentacles in reverse. I feel like you, and again, this goes back to what I was saying. You really prioritize this person and this connection. And I feel like you put them at really the top of your list. And I feel like you want them to feel loved and safe and secure. And I feel like there's a lot, you give a lot. You give a lot here. You give a lot of energy. You give a lot of time. You give a lot of effort. You give a lot of that unconditional love. But this Two of Pentacles in reverse, it represents some sort of imbalance, right? Where it's almost as if, you're the top of their list. Like their feelings are always your priority. You're always taking them into consideration and just feeling as if you're not getting that same energy in return. This world is this indication that there is some sort of a cycle here. There's something that keeps repeating, a behavior, an outcome, something that keeps you coming back to this position of, I want things to change. I want things to be different. I feel like they can, but then being in this position of like disappointment and hurt when things don't change. The Eight of Cups. I feel like you're feeling a little bit lost when it comes to this connection because there's two sides to this, right? I think that it's like you know this, but I don't know. There's two sides to this where there's so much potential here, right? You have this dream come true energy, and I feel like this person feels to you as if it's like, this is your person. This is, this person is supposed to be in your life. You care about them. You love them so much, but you also have a limit, right? And I think that your limit is in this connection, starting to be reached where you're like, I do love you. I care about you. I want this more than anything. But at the same time, I also know what I deserve and I know what I want, and this isn't it. I think it could be that, but as things stand right now, this isn't what I want. But then I also feel like, but I feel like this could be worth it, right? If we could get to a certain place, if things could change, if, there was a shift in energy here or a shift in behavior, I feel like we could get to that place and it would be really worth it. So there's a lot of back and forth in your energy, a lot of conflicting energy, days where you're like, I'm over this, I'm done. And then there are days where you're like, no, I'm not. Like, I care about this person too much to just give up on this. So I can understand why your energy has been, so kind of all over the place here, because I think that their energy is all over the place, and a lot of your energy is, I feel like, in response to that. Like when they're showing up a certain way and making you feel a certain way and making you feel loved and cared for and all the things that you want to feel, I feel like you're like, this is it. Like, this is the person that I love or that I fell in love with. Like, this is who you are, and I love this version of you. But then, again, there are times where they're showing up as someone completely different and you're going, I don't know, I can't deal with this. Like, this isn't what I want. So yeah, this is definitely complicated for a lot of reasons. I want more here. And then there's that Temperance. I feel like you've been so patient and understanding. And I'm not sitting here saying, oh, you've been a saint, you've just been perfect. Okay, I'm sure you've made mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. But I feel when it comes to like some sort of cycle here, you have been very patient. The Ace of Wands and the Hermit. Hang on, I want clarity on that because I feel like this is important. Oh, that's what's keeping you trapped. Yeah, okay. The feelings are just so strong here. I mean, the love is strong, the attraction is strong, the passion is strong, the care is strong. Like, all of that is so strong. And it's almost like it pulls you back in. you kind of get pulled back in by this, by this person. And I think that especially if there's a history here, I do feel as if there's a lot of like you have a soft spot for this person. I want to clarify this Hermit too, actually. Yeah, that's what keeps you indecisive. Two of Swords in reverse. And I do think that there might be a history here with the Six of Cups. This person, I just feel like, yeah, it's like you have a soft spot for them. Even if this isn't a romantic connection either. It could be a friendship. It could be a family member. It could be anything. But I do feel as if you're in this very indecisive place for good reason. And I certainly understand why. And I think that in general, you're looking for guidance, but I also feel like deep down, you don't want to lose them. I feel like you don't want to lose this connection, but you also know that you can't keep dealing with how things have been. Again, there's love and there's care there, but you do have a limit. You're human. Everybody has a limit. I want to get more energy or more insight into what's going on with them. Relationships do take work. They do. There are going to be times where everything is not always rainbows and butterflies. Absolutely, 100% without a doubt. But what's important is to understand that it takes work on both sides, right? It's not just one person doing the work and putting up with all of this and, asking for change and wanting to, go to therapy or wanting to work on things, and then the other person just sitting there doing nothing, right? That's where things start to get a little messy and a little imbalanced. But let's look at this person's energy toward you. Forgiveness with boundaries. Kind of a harsh energy, like sharp almost. This person's energy toward you. Whoa. That's how they view you. High Priestess, Eight of Pentacles in reverse. Two of Wands in reverse. Oh my goodness, Death in reverse. That's so many reverse cards. King of Wands, you could be dealing with a fire sign, Leo, Aries, Sagittarius. I also kind of just feel as if this person has a very fiery personality. Like they're very intense. They're very reactive. I feel like, and I'm not saying the King of Wands is always a reactive energy, but I do kind of feel that in their energy where it's just they're very reactive. They're very like a I don't know, ticking time bomb in some way. Oh, okay. Judgment in reverse. Another reverse card with the Knight of Swords. This person is stubborn. Stubborn. Yeah, okay. So here's the thing. This person is aware, okay, that the things that they do or the mistakes that they make, and I don't know what this is. And to be honest with you, I don't feel like that's any of my business. I feel like it's between you guys, right? That's not for me to know. But this person is aware of these mistakes that they make, but there's also a lot of shame around them. So there's a lot of defensiveness around these mistakes, meaning that there's an awareness of like, yes, I messed up, or yes, I do these things, or yes, I need to change. But then there's also this layer of defensiveness where it's like they feel very justified in certain decisions. And I feel like they bounce back and forth between those two things. They bounce back and forth between, yes, I need to change, and actually I don't. And I think that there is some ego-driven energy here. Ego is, its primary. Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah. Okay, I see how it's tied together. The ego's primary goal is survival, okay? It's to keep you in spaces that it knows it can survive. The ego hates not being in control, right? The ego hates what it can't predict. And therefore, the ego will always do what it wants or what it feels it needs to put you in a space of control, to put you in a space that you are used to. I feel like this person has had a pretty difficult run when it comes to love and relationships, maybe starting in childhood, maybe in, past relationships that they've had, and they've internalized a lot of things around love that aren't entirely true, and specifically around their deservingness of it. And here's the thing. People will not allow themselves to be loved any more than they are capable of loving themselves. And a lot of times what happens is when you're in that space, when you are somebody who struggles to believe that you're worthy and deserving of love, and somebody comes along and provides you with so much love and so much empathy and so much compassion, your immediate response is going to be, I don't deserve this. I can't have this. This isn't what I'm capable of experiencing. This isn't my reality when it comes to love. So this can start to manifest in a couple of different ways. Self-sabotaging, sabotaging the connection, making decisions that go against what's best for the connection because they're trying to push it away. It can look like trying to put you down because they feel bad about themselves. So they try to put you down. But this person sees you as this high priestess. They see you as somebody who is very intelligent and almost like divine in a way. And I think that they see you in such a good light that it's something that actually sparks a lot of insecurity in them, which their ego is then going to come in and say, I don't like feeling this insecurity. I don't like feeling, these feelings of unlovableness, these feelings of being not good enough, these feelings of vulnerability. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make decisions to ruin this connection. Because the closer that I get to this person, the more I feel insecure, the more I feel not good enough, the more I feel, essentially I'm going to get hurt. So I might as well just put myself back in that position of control, back in that position where, then I can't get hurt. I can't get hurt if I ruin the connection, right? I can't get hurt if I don't allow myself to be loved. That's where this person is sitting. And that's where a lot of their behavior is coming from, is the desire is there. They see you in a wonderful light. They see you in, a very loving way, but they don't see themselves in a loving way. They don't see themselves as somebody who is worthy of all of these wonderful things that you have to give. And I think that where things start to get a little bit complicated is I feel you kind of understand that side of them. Again, you might know that this person has been through a lot. You might understand that they struggle to love themselves, which is why they struggle to accept love from you. And all of that empathy that you have causes you to kind of almost justify a lot of their behavior or a lot of the things that they do, because you're like, oh, well, they do these things or they run from this connection or they, make these decisions because they don't feel worthy of love. But here's the thing. That's where your ego starts to come into play. Because if our ego is always going to keep us in spaces that it's used to, and in this connection, you're not being loved in the way that you deserve, consistently pouring into somebody who doesn't pour into you, or choosing somebody who isn't choosing you, or committing and showing up for somebody who doesn't do those things to you is also an ego-driven choice, because that's what you're used to. You're used to being the one giving and not receiving. You're used to being the one showing up and not being shown up for. So there's a part of you that's really used to this dynamic and therefore continues to choose it. Now, I'm not sitting here saying, oh, this connection is hopeless. There's no way things can work out, okay? Absolutely not. I think every connection has a potential to work as long as both people are willing to do the work. And that's the one thing that I will say is nobody's perfect. I'm certainly not perfect. I know my husband isn't perfect. Nobody's perfect. But one of the things that I've learned about unhealthy relationships versus healthy relationships is in healthy relationships, both people are willing to show up for themselves and for the connection to improve. Both people are willing to grow. Both people are willing to do the work. not one person carrying the burden of doing the emotional work for themselves and for their partner, because that's where things get unfair. And this is across the board. This is in friendships, this is in familiar relationships, this is in any relationship that you let into your life. You deserve the exact same energy that you give. But the thing is that we teach people how to treat us. We teach people how to treat us by what we accept. If we continue to accept a certain level of treatment, if we continue to accept certain behaviors and certain cycles into our life, we are telling that person, you can treat me this way and I will continue to pour into you. And that's where we have to look at the role that we play. We have to look at the mirror. We have to look at what a connection is showing us about our behavior and our patterns and our healing so that we can find our power, because we don't have control over how other people show up. Right? We only have control over how we respond. And I think when it comes to this person, they have a lot of really genuine intention here. Okay? When it comes to this relationship and when it comes to things working out. But intention isn't an excuse. Okay? You can intend not to hurt somebody, but if you hurt somebody, you still have to own up to that, right? You still have to address that behavior. If you love somebody, you are willing to look at yourself and say, okay, these are things that I will do to make sure that I'm showing up for myself and for this connection. And I'm not saying this person isn't, but with the 8 of Pentacles in reverse, I do feel like this person is not putting all that much work into things. It doesn't mean that they won't, okay? But I do feel like Spirit is asking you to look at this cycle and to address what's going on here. Because we wish cycles would end because somebody else changes, but we only have control over ourselves. So we have to look at what's going on within us so that we can change cycles. Or end cycles and open up to being able to receive the love that we deserve, whether it's in this person or somebody else. I'm not saying either way. I don't have all that information yet, but we're going to hop on over to the extended. I'm going to dive deeper into this. You have triggered with patience. So we're going to look at the deeper purpose of this connection, dive into this dynamic a little bit more, and then ultimately answer the question, what do you need to do right now in order to move forward in alignment with your higher self? And then I've got an advice card to pull from your spiritual team at the very end. Any information for that is in the description box below. What else is in the description box below is information on my upcoming workshop, How to Read Tarot. This has been one that I have always had in the back of my mind, but I've never really felt called to do until recently. So I'm really excited to put this one out there. I don't think there is one way to read tarot, but this is a workshop that is going to be breaking down how I've learned to read tarot and how I've used tarot in my own personal journey to help manifest and attract a life that has always felt impossible to me until I started living it. So tarot has been a huge part of my journey. I love it as a tool, and I'm excited to kind of share that with the world. Again, any information for that is at the top of the description box below. Thank you so much, Taurus, as always, for your support of my channel. I do obviously hope that this reading helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, I wish you nothing but love and healing and all of the wonderful things that you deserve and desire on your journey moving forward. All right, bye, Taurus.